all the way from the hips to the tip of your toes. Boy, that's a hard one. 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't do that if you've got any lumbar problems. That's it. Once a day.
And how long have you been doing these exercises for?
I can't remember, but as long as I can remember. Why did I do them? I learned them in high school, but I know they're good. They're good.
Thanks for the demo. It inspires me to do exercises.
Does it really?
Yeah.
You're in very
Just
good
a little
shape,
bit
Victoria.
each day.
You don't need it. You're in good shape.
Well, I should start doing it now, so just to
Do
stay
you suppose that
healthy.
has anything to do with your age? That you are a little limber?
I think you get, if you exercise your whole life, you'll live longer.
You do?
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Do you think that's enough, though?
I think you could also hurt yourself if you do too much more, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Looks like
And you
we're
had
going
your sweatpants on, too. Just perfect. Can I just ask you a couple more
Yep.
brief questions, or to say a couple things?
Yep. We're doing well, aren't we?
Yeah, thank you.
We'll get this done before dredging comes, won't we?
I think so. Oh, I should turn you back on. Excuse me. There's something you said a while ago that I just want you to kind of repeat, which is, you said, I've been moving from one format to the next my entire life.
Yeah.
And say that again, and then just
Yeah.
talk a little bit about
I think
that.
what I said, I spent 20% of my life going from one format to another.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll go through the format, you mean?
Yeah.
It would be television, right? Greg, are you all right?
Yeah.
Get yourself something to eat, Greg. Is that his coffee cup there or yours?
This NBC one is his. Oh, it's empty.
Yeah, I'm
It says
okay.
applesauce.
I'm fine.
Are you hungry, Vic?
I'm getting there. So I'll have a little bit more applesauce in it.
Good, and if they finish it up, Greg, you can finish it up too, and there's peanut butter.
All right.
Greg, would you put all that stuff that belongs on top of the oven on the oven?
All right.
That's showing in the background, isn't it? Let's put it over there, won't it?
It's okay.
I'm taping a ladybug.
Oh.
It's a ladybug.
Give her
over-
something to eat. Give her some peanut butter. Here.
I don't know if she eats peanut butter there.
Yes, she does. Actually, she would like something wet. Ah, applesauce.
Oh, it just flew.
She flew away?
It just flew in the window.
Where'd she go?
It's crawling up the window, Red.
Where, honey? I don't see her.
Right there. A little dot right there, crawling around.
Here, honey. Ah, she's got it. She's eating it. She's eating it. That's good applesauce. It'll have water in it and sugar. That'll help her a lot. Thanks, Greg. Here, this is what I mean. Put all this stuff in. Thick raccoons love cream of wheat. I cook it for them. Put sugar on it, brown sugar, and creamer. You know, vegetarian creamer. Greg, you want some of this shake? This is a delicious shake. Awfully good.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll take some of that cup there.
Where'd the ladybug go?
Oh.
Oh.
Is she eating?
It's on the curtain now. There's a
Oh, she
little dot in
didn't
the
eat?
curtain. I got some close-ups on this camera.
I love it.
Yeah, it's like doesn't like to be bothered, I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vic.
When they get bothered, they jump and fly.
I did my exercises twice today. Twice, so
That's
you.
great.
Okay, now. You two, be so kind as to listen to me while I tell you about. I've been in television for 50 years. ever since I would say 1950, 51. And that would be broadcast television, and then I started in cable television in 1972. And all of the public access corporations are all celebrating their 25th anniversary. And I have spent 20% of my life changing from one format to another. Of course, this is only since tape began, and that was in around 73 or 4. Well, actually, tape came out in 69. But for little people, it wasn't until Sony came out and invented the Sony Porta Pack, and we had the half-inch reel-to-reel tape. Well, I've gone from half-inch reel-to-reel to 8 millimeter to 3/4 inch and 3/4 inch to mini DV and mini DV to DVD. I didn't stop along the way for beta. I didn't get ensnared in that.
I did.
Gregory said he did. And, but that's funny. I have spent at least 20% of my life going from one format to another. And as time consuming as television is, it must be a quarter of it that I spent dubbing it in this format for that person and dubbing it in that format for the other. Now you see, I started to tell you how great God is in making new things. And well, God really went lickety-split when it came to circuit boards and solid state and made all these things. And now it's even faster than ever, the electronics. So that all ties in with that meditation about God.
Great. And then, just another, I wanted to go over have like an intro to go into the women's dinner. Remember when we went to the women's dinner? There's a really good scene of us at the women's dinner. But I wanted you to kind of give an intro to what the women's dinner is, and that day, who you invited and who showed up.
Okay, give me an example.
So you'd say, when was it? Last fall?
In May.
In May, the St. Luke's Lutheran Church had a women's dinner.
And I invited you.
Yeah, and you invited Victoria, and then name a couple of the other people you invited, and then say who showed up.
You.
Because it was me and Sarah, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, Sarah Schubert.
Yeah, because I want to have like a nice way to introduce.
What a
Women's dinner. Remember when we went to the women's dinner? There's a really good scene of us at the women's dinner. But I wanted you to kind of give an intro to what the women's dinner is, and that day, who you invited and who showed up.
Okay, give me an example.
So you'd say, when was it? Last fall?
In May.
In May, the St. Luke's Lutheran Church had a women's dinner.
And I invited you.
Yeah, and you invited Victoria, and then name a couple of the other people you invited, and then say who showed up.
You.
Because it was me and Sarah, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, Sarah Schubert.
Yeah, because I want to have like a nice way to introduce that day.
Okay, now tell me what your intent for it is. You wanted
To narrate that scene.
Yeah, but what did you want people to think about it?
I want people to know what the purpose of the women's dinner was, and then who were the people who showed up that day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just an intro as you're walking into the women's dinner on the documentary. Your voice will be explaining what it is.
I get you.
You got it? Let's see. I'm having a little buzzing. Seems to be me.
Take your time. How you doing, Greg?
Oh, good.
Oh, something about where I am. Okay, I'm just going to stay right here. Go ahead.
Well, we're going to the women's club of the St. Luke's Lutheran Church. Very sweet people who try to do all kinds of things all over the world. So we're going to the women's dinner, and I invited, I think, about 10 or 12 women. And the only two who came were Victoria Carezzi and Sarah Schubert. That's okay by me. And they had this very fancy dinner. You had to dress up, and you had tablecloths, and you had crystal settings, and silverware, and lovely plates. But the best thing of it all, the men waited on us. That was the best thing at all. They came and they got on their knees to us, and they brought us everything that we needed to our tables, and it was just wonderful. What a night that was to have the men wait. And Barbara Slater was the president, and she said a beautiful extemporaneous prayer.
Great.
Is that enough?
That's perfect. Because, yeah, that's perfect because there's shots of us together with Sarah, but I wanted a nice, like, introduction.
Oh, good. You sure you've got what you want?
And it's funny because you stand up during it and you say, God bless the men for dressing up.
Did you get
so
that on?
good. Yeah, it's so perfect.
They were all dressed up,
Yeah,
too.
they
I
looked
forgot
great.
that. Yeah, well, then that's good we covered that.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that.
I must commend you on your notes.
Thanks. I learned from you. Oh, do you go to church anymore? And,
yeah.
And can you describe the church you go to and what you experience at church? Like why, or basically say what church you go to and why you go. If you can think of it. You don't have to answer any of my questions. And if you go to multiple churches, that's fine.
Yeah, I would mention all of them. I go there. Okay, when you're ready.
Yep.
God, thank you for the churches. Thank you so much for the churches. Thank you that people go there and all they do is talk about you. And they praise you and they recognize your great creations. And they recognize this beautiful world that you have created and that you keep it in operation and in maintenance. The sun doesn't fall down to the earth. It's there the next morning. The moon comes up once a month and it's so beautiful. You just keep it operating so beautifully. And you go on to new creations. You make the people feel so good. It's their time of strength and power. Going to church is a grand, grand experience. It's also fun, although it takes a lot of time, it's fun to dress up and show your reverence and show your respect, show our respect to you. It's fun to read the powerful words in the Bible. And now the Protestant churches have made such a good work of the music ministry. The hymns that they have written, the organs that cost $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. So a magnificent instrument, so powerful. And then we have Pastor Slater, and I've never seen anybody give himself so completely to you. His whole life is you. He goes here, there, and everywhere in his little tracker, and he just works morning, noon, and night serving you. And I tell him that, you know, and it's enthusiasm, it never fails. That man is always enthusiastic and always jolly and extremely compassionate, of course. That's the Reverend James Henry Slater III. He does 2 services on Sunday morning. He does Emmanuel Lutheran, and I go to that service. And then he comes up about 10 miles and goes to St. Luke's Lutheran service. And he makes them both. The first one's at 9 o'clock, the second one is 11 o'clock. And he stops here, and he picks me up. And I get chauffeured to church in a clerical car. I love it. And then the social time afterwards. And people are concerned for you, and they laugh a lot. People in church really... My best jokes I've learned in church. So, and I also go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is a grand service. I favor the Seventh-day Adventists because they do not eat meat. They are vegans. And so I favor them. I have something to say about churches. I think they are cruel to animals and the food that they eat. I think they're cruel to plants. Poinsettia time, they bring them in at Christmas and then they just leave them to die of thirst. That's no good. If you're going to bring a plant to church to celebrate Christmas, then you take it home afterwards and care for it like a child. And they're the same thing, of course. Obviously, you know Easter lilies. I go to the Reformed Church, the Dutch Reformed Church. It's called the Dutch Protestant Church. It's called the Reformed Church in America. It's called the, well, I guess that's it. But the biggest and best Protestant Dutch church, the biggest and best, is the Hour of Power, Robert Schuller. That's a Reformed church in America. He went out to California 30 years ago. He didn't have a cent. He didn't know anybody. And he started up a church in an outdoor movie lot. An outdoor, you know, what am I trying? Drive-in theater. Yeah. And, of course, Norman Vincent Peale is Reformed Church in America. Power of positive thinking. Go to church. Go to church. And then you have the solidarity of these people. When I came down with that Lyme disease, and it got worse and worse every day, until finally my church congregants said, you call, you know, you call and you go. 3 of them, Jane Dean, Sarah Schubert, who came to the women's dinner along with Victoria, and John Schubert, her husband. We left here at 7 o'clock, and I could hardly move. It's awful what that Lyme disease does to you. You cannot even hold up your head. Isn't that a funny thing? Well, excuse me, a terrible thing. And we went to the hospital in Albany, and they stayed with me all night long. We didn't get back home until 4 a.m. And John Schubert will say, I'm okay, but then the telephone rings, and somebody's in trouble. Drop everything. Drop everything and go. So the solidarity that you have not only with the people but with God. Go to church.
When you had Lyme disease, is that what made your eye swollen? Remember your eye was really swollen? It was last winter that you videotaped it in one of your shows. Your eye swelled up real big.
Yeah, now tell me some more, see if I can remember.
Did you get bit by a spider or something like that? Or?
You got bit, yeah, I think you got bit by something, or maybe it was the tick.
Was that it, Greg?
Well, sometimes a spider bite, it does that. And
It was
Well,
around
anyway,
your
I know
eye.
it wasn't the Lyme disease, to answer your question.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I'll put that on for you.
Okay.
I can't remember what the swelling of the eye was about. Was that here, up here, in Columbia County, or was that down in Westchester?
Up here.
I can't remember what the swelling of the eye was about.
That's okay. I just wondered if it was.
I don't know what it was, some infection or something. I don't know what
Greg
that was.
thinks it was, or it could have been an
Sometimes
allergy.
Yeah, an
I know
allergy.
my eyes have swollen. We lived in an apartment that was cold and we kept the gas stove running, and I believe that caused a terrible allergy. But Benadryl took it away, right away. And then I remember I had a terrible swelling of the eye and it was all red. And guess what? When the redness and the swelling went away, I saw a little red thing here with a hole in it, and that's what Greg was talking about, a spider bite. But Benadryl took care of that.
Or a tick bite, to get bit by a tick.
No, they don't do that. A tick will make a bullseye, but they won't make a swelling all over.
Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that will be Lyme disease when it's a tick bite. And that comes, and you'd be smart to get the tick out. But wait, there was something I wanted to tell you. This was a real swelling of the eye. I was in the bathroom one morning, and this darling kitten came in running into the bathroom, and my hands were wet, my face was wet because I was doing my ablutions, and I tried to get my feet out so as not to step on the kitten, and the kitten put me off balance, and I put my hand on the bathtub to get balance. Guess what? My hand was wet, so I lost complete balance, and the head came down and hit the edge of the bathtub here. Well, I'm telling you, that certainly was a swelling and a redness for a long time.
Oh.
Crazy little kitten.
Okay, I have a question that I haven't asked you before. Is there something specific that you want to do before you go to heaven? A place to go see, a person to go see? Could you put a finger on something?
Victoria just asked me, is there some place I wanted to go before I go to heaven, or a person I wanted to see, or a trip I wanted to take? No. I'm ready. I feel that I'm up to date. There is one thing I would love to do, though. That thing I was just telling you about. Cast out unclean spirit. Why do I want to cast out the unclean spirit? Because it opens up the person to the joy and the excitement and the wonder and the happiness of this great life and this great world and our great God. I would love to learn how to do that. Jesus Christ gave the disciples that power to cast out unclean spirits. I was thinking about casting out, he said, all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. He said, heal the sick, cleanse the leper, cast out the devil. And I said, boy, I would love to do that. But then I thought about it. Folks, sickness and accidents are our own fault. We bring them on ourselves. We make our own trouble. And you will find that in every case of sickness, guilt. And even Pastor Slater said this to me, that guilt is a big part of sickness. You get rid of the guilt. And it's true. You remember the Christ, the man would be on a stretcher, and instead of saying a prayer for me, he said, rise, your sins are forgiven. That made the person well. Guilt has a big part of it. But don't worry about guilt. It's easy. You simply say, I did wrong. I'm sorry I did wrong. I don't ever want to do it again. It makes me feel bad all over. I will take the rap. I will atone. I'll say I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. And I'll take the rap. I'll take the punishment for it. It's not hard to deal with it. And the spoken word is made a whole lot easier if you sing it in a hymn. Let me do one for you. May thy rich grace impart strength to your fainting heart, our zeal inspire. Oh, hear us while we pray, take all our guilt away. Oh, let us from this day be wholly thine. You hear that? Take all our guilt away. No, there's nothing I want to do except maybe help people. But I'll do that anyway. And no, there's nothing I want to get done.
Do you think your public access show is a step on casting out the unclean or unhealthy spirits?
Well, that would be wonderful. Tell me how. How it would be.
I don't know. I'm wondering if that's one way of touching people and communicating with
Oh,
people.
I do think so. I do think so. When I sit down, and this is something that I wanted to do since 1950, I wanted to be able to sit in front of the television camera, and I wanted to be able to talk to people just as if that person was opposite me in the same room. And I wanted to be able to talk to them shoulder to shoulder and reach them. And I think that that has happened, and it happens many, many times. And when I do sit down and talk to people about the presence of God and about their happiness and about giving and helping other people, I think it does reach them, because I get some very nice telephone calls. Not a great many, but I will get a call from an anonymous person, such as what you said tonight on television really helped me. Hang up. I get quite a few calls like that.
And what about the court cases? Do you think that that's a step to casting out those unclean spirits?
Well, that certainly is the place to find them. The judges and the lawyers and the courts. I don't think a legion of 10,000 of us could cast out all those unclean spirits. I hope so. I was always honest in the court, and I always stood up for right. It was costly as to time, as to money. It really spent a whole lot of money for Franklin. And let's see, do I think it helped to cast out unclean spirits? Wouldn't it have been wonderful if we had conversions? Do I think it did? Let me think a minute. I'm sure that the judges, in spite of the corrosion of their souls down to maybe 1% or 2%, I'm sure that they still had a soul, and I'm sure they could see the struggle for America, for free speech, for the Constitution, and for the bravery of standing up for what was right. Matthew 10 says, Christ says specifically to the disciples, never take any concern as to what you will say. It will come to you what to say, because it is not you who is speaking, it's the Spirit of your Father. And that was so true in court. These great speeches would come, and I had no idea where they came from, but it's true.
And so do you think you're going to go into another court case?
I'm afraid so. I have tried for 1.5 years. To get a chat with Glendora on public access in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Greg can tell you a lot about this. He's witnessed it. And nothing works. Nothing works. I keep hearing you have to have a resident of Pittsfield go in front of the camera and say, I accept full responsibility for everything on this show. I'm a resident of Pittsfield. Here is my home address. Here's my home number. Who's going to do that? You would think that when I go and interview the Reverend Dr. Veda Vitas, pastor of the First Methodist Church in Pittsfield, and the interview is so sweet. It's his story of how he was born in Costa Rica in a family of 11. Just a minute.
It was on for about a half an hour, and then what happened was, for the next hour and a half, it was a blank screen.
No, for 1.5 hours? they made a mistake, didn't they, Joe? They played a half an hour show instead of a 2-hour show, didn't they?
Well, last night was pretty good because last night's show was from the 11th of October.
That's about right. Yeah, that's about
Quite
right.
a bit of that was.
Because this is the 14th of November. That's right.
Right, that's right. Yeah. And it was a lot of that was the Reverend Shula,
Oh, good.
and they put that on, and but they even took off 5 minutes of that. They've been sort of cheating on the time.
Good for you for catching it. Now, you're talking about the Woodbury system, Cablevision, Nassau County,
Right,
which is one of the biggest systems we have.
that's right. I would say probably there was about an hour and a half of blank screen time. That was the Glennie Spectacular that wasn't.
Joe, you're wonderful to report to me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. And the other one was about 25 minutes. Was pretty good. That was I happen to like Reverend Shula too. So
Well, he's always good.
yeah, I
Did they have interviews of successful people too?
yeah. As a matter of fact, he did. I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting for the time that he comes on with